Good day to you. Hope you're doing well. This is going to be the recorded session for the live design with your clients, iterating your way to the order. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so you can see this. And we will go ahead here and keep rolling with this. A little bit about me. My name is Landon Mumbower. I was born and raised in Mississippi. Currently, I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, though. So over the years, moved from Mississippi to Alabama, then to Indianapolis. Currently, I work for Bastian Solutions. I've worked with them for over 5 years in consulting. Currently managing manager of consulting there. Previous to that, I spent 10 years in various manufacturing environments, where the longest stint I had was with automotive manufacturing. I got my industrial engineering degree and my MBA from Mississippi State University. Go Bulldogs. We're having a terrible football season, but it's a rebuilding year, so maybe next year. But currently married with 3 kids, and we've got one more on the way. And I enjoy outdoor activities, camping, hiking, hunting, fishing, woodworking, traveling, and also attending church and community activities with my family. In the bottom left, you'll see a picture that's me in the Australian harbour with the Sydney Opera House and the harbour bridge behind me there. Bottom right is my family after we did a 5K race that I ran and then met up with my family and walked the rest of the way. And then also a logo for Mississippi State, my alma mater, that I dearly love and miss. All right. So with that, enough about me. What are we going to talk about today? You're going to be getting the recorded version of this that I'll be doing live at CET Expo, or Experience. But during this agenda, we want to prepare you for your live design session. We also want to use the visual model to explain the order process. And we also want to keep your model flexible, followed up with a little bit of Q&A, which won't really apply here, but you'll get the gist of it. If you have questions, feel free to reach out. I've got a contact page at the end. Otherwise, you can reach out to your account specialist and ask them questions as well if I don't cover something well enough. All right, let's jump into it. So what do I mean by prepare? You may be thinking to yourself, what should I prepare for when I iterate through a design with my client? What would be the purpose of getting ready for this? Well, that's a great question. So here's a few things. Start off with who are we going to be inviting to this live session? We all know that we can't CET live and we make mistakes. We can't Excel type our formulas live and do everything perfect. We can't open AutoCAD and do drawings perfect in front of clients. So we want to make sure we know who we're inviting to this live session so that they have some information ahead of time. We're inviting the right people. We want to make sure that we're inviting people who are close to the project, who can help make decisions about layout, who can help make decisions about engineering requirements or facility requirements or locations of things. We want those individuals who are going to come and add value to the conversation and not be asking, why are we doing it this way? Or why do we need this area here? We want to make sure that that's answered ahead of time. What are we going to focus in or drive home in the live session? Kind of like I made mention to of who we're inviting. What we're going to talk about may drive some of that. So like I said, if we're talking about where to place platforms or columns, or maybe where some air handlers could potentially be in the way of something high overhead. Maybe it's racking, maybe it's a storage system, could be various things. And so we want to make sure that what we're going to focus on, what we're trying to solve, we have the right people in the room. To give this a little bit of an example, there was one live session we did a while back where we were deciding on the conveyor layout on a platform over a drive aisle. And so we made sure we had facility operations, we had the maintenance team, we had the fork truck and delivery team. There was a whole supervisor there associated with that. We made sure that we had ergo and safety for the guarding for the platform and the railing and the floor types and all those things, so that we could just get everybody on the same page, answer the questions, but also lay everything out and have a close to final design coming out. Where are we going to hold this meeting? Are we going to do it in person at maybe a customer site or an offsite or our site? Are we going to be doing it via Teams? With CET and with your machine having to draw, that may make some requirements. If you work with a desktop, probably hard to lug that somewhere. If you're doing it from a laptop, you can probably take it wherever you need to, but you need to be cognizant of drawing on your screen, sharing your screen, things like that. So where you're going to hold this meeting could drive part of what you're going to talk about as well. Are you on site with the client? Could you go out and look at it and come back and make changes? Should you do that in the morning before you have the meeting? Things like that. Lastly, why? Why are you holding this meeting? What do you need to iterate to? Why does the customer care and why are we doing this? We need to be able to have that end goal in mind, very similar to what are we going to focus or drive home in the live session? Why are we holding this meeting? If we are doing this just to show a drawing, that's okay. That's a valid reason. Sometimes 3D is the best way to explain the story, and we're going to talk about walking through a drawing to explain the process. But also, why are you holding this? Maybe it's to prove out a design of an area. Say, hey, this is the only way we could do it because of reasons 1, 2, 3. That explanation of why, that taking the time, showing a drawing, showing a 3D, iterating through that, or showing it live to the customer is really going to make a difference. So how do we prepare for this live session? First, we want to make our client aware ahead of time. So what I mean by that is we've already decided who's going to be a part of this. That's what I'm referring to with the client. But we want to make them aware ahead of time what we're going to achieve. So on one side, we're going to have a working session. We want you to provide input. We want you to bring thoughts. We want you to bring concerns, considerations, requirements, all those things. This is going to be a working session. It's not going to be drawn to perfection when we sit down and open it. This is a rough draft and we're concepting. This is not meant to be final. Okay, leaving out of here, I'll go back, I'll make some finishing touches. I can make some nice, pretty pictures, but this is to concept, to iterate, to solution together from a rough draft to a concept. Secondly, we want to come with a plan of what we're going to show, what options are available. What I mean by this is between the options available, whether it's conveyor, platforms, stairs, locations, distance requirements, gapping requirements for scanning sections on conveyor zones. Maybe it's robotic cell height limitations for picking and dropping, things like that. Whatever these are, we need to make sure we understand that we have those options and those are available to us or they are not available to us. So coming in and knowing that I'm going to talk about that platform example like I gave earlier, I knew that I needed to know conveyor runs, transferabilities, stair requirements, heights, railings, types of floors we had. I had all those options going into the meeting so that when we talked with the client, we could offer those options, but we also limited the conversation to those options so that we didn't open a door to something we couldn't do or knew wouldn't work in that environment. So just as it's important to offer options, sometimes limiting those options allows you to get to a solution sooner. We don't need to be thinking pie in the sky. We don't need to be thinking about all the fun things we could do. Sometimes we need to think about reality and what's achievable and what we need to put on the table versus make sure we don't show it to them. Know what you draw doesn't have to be finalized. I made a note about this earlier, but just know we're looking for representative. This is not going to be the final form. You're going to make tweaks. You're going to type in a wrong height. Something may not connect right. You may not even have guardrails or footings or supports in place. That's okay. Like, talk to it, but don't let that hold you up from putting together an iterative design. So as we prepare it, there's some ways that you could do this. First, we need to be able to show some options. So you may have come to this iterative design session and have some options available to show to the client. One way you could do this is with showing two on the same page. So here, for example, I've shown the 2D on top and the 3D in the bottom or on the side here. And basically, we've put two solutions in front of the customer for different layouts. And we can show these two solutions. We can fly to one, fly to the other, in 3D, 2D, whatever we need to do. The point of this one is that these are small building designs right here. These are very small areas of a building. They're not the full thing, but they were small enough so that we could contain them in the same drawing. If you have a larger drawing or a larger system or a larger facility or things like that, you probably won't be able to do this. And so the better way to do it would be to use an alternatives option. And I'll show you this live in Aero in a second. But if you go to tools and then hit alternatives, you can then create or remove or move or have these different options for maybe different builds, different conveyors, different technologies, whatever you want to show. If you've created these ahead of time, That's great. These are the options that you can show. This is a way to show options already built out, already to your rules, already to your liking. Lastly, is if you have different ways of doing things, you can show two on the same page. And so right here, we've got a incline conveyor over here, and then we've got a spiral here. And so with that, you could just show, hey, we could do an incline conveyor or we could do a spiral here, but you can also show the differences of why you have done that. So what do I mean by that? Let's go to the actual CET drawing, and I've got it pulled up here. Let me make a few, and forgive me for not looking at the camera. The screen that I'm sharing is off to my side, and the camera that I have is pointing a different direction. So here's that place on the conveyor here. We have our spiral, and we have our decline conveyor. These are coming out of pick mods, as you can see here, pick modules. This is going to be the place where we show two options. Now, the note I'll say here is that while I'm using this to explain a point that you could show two options in your drawing, hey, we could do a spiral or we could do a decline conveyor. In reality, with this design, we actually have to do a spiral here because we do not have this distance to do a decline conveyor prior to the print and apply. So I know that on this section here, I have to come off the spiral, I have to gap, and then I have to scan, and then I can do my print and apply. I have that space here, but I don't have the space from here to this conveyor up here to put a decline in. And you can kind of see that difference here where we put the decline conveyor here. We have all this runway. We don't have that space here. So, hey, customer, we've put a spiral here because we need to make sure that we have enough room to gap and scan prior to the print and apply. Over here, we saved you a little bit of money, and we've used a decline conveyor because they are cheaper. However, if you would like more accumulation coming out of that, or you just want everything to look uniform, or maybe there's going to be other processes you need to put on the conveyor here, we can swap this to a spiral. So showing options, but also giving reasons as to what you can do and what you couldn't do. Now, I mentioned it earlier, using the alternatives. This drawing isn't extremely large. As you can tell, there's a building here, there's some pick module racking, a couple rows of conveyor, things like that. So it wouldn't be terrible, but it's still getting on that verge where it's just a bit much to show. So if you click tools and then you go down to alternatives, you can open this up. It opened on my other screen, apologies. And here we've built out 4 alternatives already. So right now we're on the full build, and then we've got the initial, and sometimes these load with a different view angle. So you may have to just be prepared to navigate a little bit. And so this is what that initial build looks like. And then we did another one where we put a auto store system in here as well to give an idea what that could do if they wanted to switch that. So using the alternatives, I've then quickly flipped between 3 different options to allow for you to have those ready for your clients and allow you also to make sure that you have different available options that you can show. Right? Okay. Let's flip back over to here. And we're going to move on. We're going to talk about using the visual model. I'm going to take this back actually and explain one other thing. I'm going to open, while this is opening in the background, I just want to have the next drawing ready. And that's what's going to be going on in the background. But we're going to use the visual model to explain the process. So one, as I mentioned earlier, we need to know our audience, right? And so with knowing our audience, we can then make sure we cover the process of what we're trying to achieve here. In this image here, we've got lots of different conveyors. We've got some workstations, things like that. And I'll pull up the drawing here in a little bit to explain this more as it's loading. But we can utilize arrows on the conveyor. I'll show you how to put those in. It's real quick. It's real easy. But also being able to explain the rationale or the purpose of the original design. So what I mean by that is we need to be able to explain, why is conveyor all the way over here? Or why does it change height? Or things like that. And so having that rationale, having the purpose, walking in with an understanding of it, also allows you to explain the process better. So with that, I just want to go ahead and show you the perk of using CET. Prior to CET, this is what we would show our customers. And we'd be like, all right, great, here we go. We've got an auto store system here. We've got some conveyor that goes out. Then we pick at some workstations. We're doing a little pack out process here. And then we're going to go over here and we're going to do some down lane shipping. And we would explain that. That'd be great. But what we're missing, I'll pull this over now, is that in this conveyor, there is a lot of height changes. So we've got conveyor coming on top of the auto store ports, and it's staying relatively high. We've got a sort bar here. It's coming in high to the pack out stations. And then if we look inside there, those are coming out lower. So now we've got a different elevation. And if we look here, all of these come down. This is a hospital lane, things like that. These curve around, and they actually incline back up. If I come over here, whoop, got inside the auto store there. That's okay. If we come here, we're inclining right here. You can see that there. To be high for the sorter so that we can use gravity conveyor to ship out to our trucks for truck loading or pallet loading, pallet building, things like that, those operations. So there's some elevation changes that we weren't able to see in this top-down view. So knowing that process, knowing that reasoning for the height changes, things like that, not only does that come alive utilizing CET and iterating your design with your client, but also utilizing CET to showing this. So within this model, I mentioned here specifically, this conveyor can get a little confusing. Wait, what's going where? How's going what? Who's on first? Things like that. And so if I come down here to this operator, I can go to the conveyor, essential conveyors, go to products, and go all the way down to the bottom and go to the spiff up section, grab an arrow, and it'll be based on the direction of the arrow or the direction of the conveyor as you drew it. So you can see here, I put it right there next to that operator. And if we got here, hey, look, this conveyor is coming this way. This conveyor is going that way. I can also change this fill color if I need to make it drastically different. I don't know. Maybe that helps on the white conveyor. We can adjust that color real quick, just give you some options. But I can even come up here, and say, all right, so this conveyor is here, and just simply by putting some arrows on it, see that one goes that way, this one's going that way, then we've got some diverts coming off. Makes sense. So you can quickly then use this space as I fly around, and I can look at that and say, oh, that's how this conveyor is flowing. I'm getting orders. I'll just explain this a little bit more to you guys just so you understand, because we're going to use this drawing a little bit more. But right here, this loop here is more of this is a case throw on. This is more of a hospital or VAS operation if they need to do it somewhere else. This is all for the pack out process and the return from that. This is to bypass pack out. Same with this line, because there's some volume differences based on the profile. And then we've got some hospital lanes here and also full case lanes here where, oh, I don't need to go to pack out. And I also don't need to go to the sort. I just need to come to this side and be taken care of. And then coming up here, this is just a strict sortation loop. So that is basically how the system functions and why the conveyor is the way it is. There's some more reasons for some of these legs for today. Don't get hung up on it. But one thing I will point out that probably looks the goofiest is right here on the outbound pallet build or shipping lane, we have this return for the recirculation loop, and it's all the way down here. I'll remind you, and this is exactly to my points previous, but this is an incline conveyor, and we are already at a higher elevation. So we can't all of a sudden pick down, come over, merge back in, things like that. We've got to stay high, and we might as well just come in after that to allow for continued height. All right. So that is taking care of using the visual model to explain the process. And I believe I just walked you guys through the entire process. So now you understand what's going on in the drawing. So we want to keep our model flexible is the last part of the agenda that we want to talk about. So first thing I'd recommend is wait on guardrails and supports on conveyors or platforms. Reason being is if you have to make edits to conveyors, you have to make edits to platforms. You may need to be deleting or adding or moving or shifting them. And because they turn into individual components, it's kind of a little bit of a pain to keep up with, and they get lost in space and things like that. So I'll show you how to keep up with that with advanced selection. Also, just wait on spiffing up. Like if you're going to add your customer or your supplier label to the side of the conveyor to make it look nice, or show for render, things like that. That's for afterwards. So like, let's not worry about that being there. Also during these iterative sessions, like you're not going to be able to zoom in on it a lot or see it or things like that typically. So let's just wait till we do some renders and then we can put all of our logos and pretty pictures in. Lastly, if you need to freeze portions to help with load size or to make sure you don't shift things or whatnot, you can do that in the space, and then we can make sure that those areas load nicely. I mentioned earlier about larger models. I don't have any loaded today, just for ease of presentation. But with a larger model, if you need to keep a section of it frozen, you can use the freeze function within it. Finally, just remember you're going to render after the session. When you're not going to do that during the session, maybe some screenshots of a specific area or thing might be taken, but renders, nice pictures, presentations, things like that, those are all going to be built later on. So don't worry about doing that right now in this. So with that, let's jump back to our model. Here we go. We're back. We've seen this model. We know what's going on. And let's say, we're going to show this advanced selection. So if I come here and I say, oh, I need to make a change to this conveyor. So first I'll disconnect it there, and then I'm going to stretch it down and say, oh, we're going to shorten it down to, let's just say there. And see, I'm left with all these conveyor supports. Now they look great in this image right now, but I don't want to go through and find them and hit delete on each one or things like that. So if I say, hey, we're about to totally redo this section of conveyor, I can go to tools, I can go to advanced selection, I can go to categories, and then I can click on CET conveyors. Now see, it's selected everything associated with CET conveyors currently. Now I know from doing this a couple times that if I hit bed fill, it's going to drop a lot of these other things because it can't select them without bed fill. So now I'm left with supports, and I've got one decal in there as part of a spiff up. But if I just come out here and kind of click on a part of it and then hit delete, they've now all disappeared. And I did that instantly. Now, this is just as easy to put all the conveyor backs because we can come up here to the top view. That's typically easiest. I can select it all. I can be under the essential conveyors, scroll down to the supports and click auto. Next thing you know, all of them are loaded. So that's how I've quickly used advanced selection to add them to the model, but also remove them from the model. This could be maybe towards the end of the session, things like that. But see, I've still got to connect this conveyor up and make sure that we don't make changes, or I've got to shorten this side, things like that to make it all match up. Now, as I mentioned, another area to making sure you don't mess up things. Let's say I really, oops, sorry, I forgot controller. Let's say I really like this area and this sorter, and I really want to keep that where it is. I can go ahead and select all of this that's associated with it. Maybe it's the whole loop. Make sure we get it all. I think that's every little bit. There's that, and we'll get the merge. And if I right click on it and go down to the bottom, I can click freeze, or you can press Control E for the keyboard warriors. So hit freeze, and now that is frozen. It's there. It's not going to load in, so that is something to keep in mind with freeze, but it's also not going to get messed up. So, I mean, it's technically gone through and frozen all of the conveyor here in this example because it's all connected. So sorry for that little mishap when doing this, but now I can just come and find this, hit unfreeze, and now it's back and we can mess with it. So if you have a larger drawing, it's typically good to freeze those sections so that you don't see them. They're not in the way. It helps improve that focus. And you can keep your load size smaller. All right, we'll take questions in the live session. So lastly, what should I remember from today? What was worth it? What was good? What was not? First, I want you to set expectations. Set expectations with the client, but also with yourself. You're going to have a limited amount of time. So make sure whatever you're planning to get done in that time, you can get done. And whatever you're not going to be able to get done, that's okay. Maybe set up another meeting, maybe chop this into smaller bits, but let's set the expectation. We're going to work just on platform west or whatever. We're going to work on building wing east, however you want to use it. We can set those expectations ahead of time. Secondly, let's stay flexible. I made some mistakes while doing this lab. That's okay. We're not trying to build perfect here. We're just trying to work together to get to that final design and to that conceptual design that we're at right now. It may take a couple more iteration sessions. It may take a live on-site together working session. I'm not real sure. Lastly, I just want you to be ready for the unexpected. What do I mean by that? I just want you to be prepared for questions you may get or for design iterations that you may be asked for, and have an answer ready to go. Sometimes the best answer you can give is, I don't know right now, but I'll get back to you. And that's okay too as part of this design. If your design engineer over robot cells isn't there and you're reviewing a robot cell and he has a robot question, hey, I'll write that down or I'll send him a message during lunch. I'll get back to you on it. That's okay. But let's be ready for as much as we can and make sure we have the right people in place to avoid that. All right. Would ask for more questions at this time. But lastly, you can contact me. I'm Landon Mumbower from Bastian Solutions. There's my email address. And lastly, I just want to thank you for watching this presentation and for taking the time. If you have any questions, please reach out. Thanks.